Welcome back to our channel again. And before I start delving into today's session, I want the audience to subscribe to this channel so that they get the regular updates, right? And today, as you already know, that we always create videos about life and leadership, and it is all about how to live the life to the fullest. So, in the similar fashion, we have come up with a new idea that is how to be conscious, right? And consciousness is what makes us aware of ourselves and the world around us, right? In the age of dominate it is in the age that is dominated by so many distractions, right? The act of being conscious has never been more important than today.
Yep.
Earlier people were not that much, I would say, because people were quite organized, people were quite conscious because they had no so many they didn't have so many distractions. But in today's world and today's era, people have got so many distractions that it's quite difficult to save themselves from, right? So this is what we are going to talk about today. And Robin, tell me, what do you mean by being conscious? And you have actually we have to talk about this in different aspects, like spiritual aspect, and we would be talking about the technological aspect, and we would also be talking about how can a person become very conscious of himself and the surroundings and the things they're doing, so that they can make the most of this life,
Right.
that they can capitalize on all those opportunities which they may be no they may be you can say losing if they're not conscious in their lives. Over to you.
Right. First of all, good evening. And this is what I need to admit this before we start this video and delve into this unfathomable, you know, I mean, knowledge of our life. Because when we talk about consciousness, when we talk about conscious and other similar aspects, we need to be, pretty much aware and mature to a certain level for understanding this. So, the admission from my side is that, throughout my understanding, throughout my reading of scriptures and other so books, many a times I came across with this term and concept and idea which is called conscious and consciousness. And until last year, almost 16 to 17 minutes, 16 to 70 months, I was literally not aware, or you can say I was aware, but not in a proper sense as to how one should understand the word conscious and how one should try to apply to their own life, right? There are certain words people must accept this as are not just words but are personal experiences. And being conscious and consciousness is all about which has to be dealt with personal level or individual level or at the individual level, because it is something you cannot call as a complete understanding just by reading few lines on it, or let's say reading the entire book on it. It is applicable, and when you make it applicable and when you experience it, then you literally can say that yes, I have understood what consciousness is all about. Even I'm in the process of understanding it. I can't say I have reached to that very sublime position where I can say I have understood everything about being consciousness, but I do have a sense of how one should understand this. And therefore, I think it's better to go on with an elaboration which is little different from the scriptures book but of a personal experience, but pretty much kind of congruous to what we read in the scriptures. Because what we read in the scriptures, what we read in the books about consciousness, after a certain point of time we try to apply this to our life, and what we get as an experience that becomes a permanent or a very solid knowledge or experience, for then we become very confident in sharing with you. So on this ground, I'm going to share this very idea and knowledge, which actually, is always something like surrounds the conscious and the conscious word. So first, let's begin with the word conscious and consciousness. So these are two words, right? One is conscious and the second is consciousness. However, many people say it is almost similar, and yes, to a certain extent, both are similar, right? But we need to understand when it comes to the application of these two words. So when you're talking about consciousness, Consciousness is something about, you are talking about your entire body's awareness, right? So I mean, we are talking right now, we are moving, we are eating, and our all routine activities are, you can say, a reflection of the consciousness. I mean, when we see people, going in comas, and they are absolutely, almost, null with their senses. They cannot have their senses active. So what happens before them in their surroundings, they are absolutely oblivious to those actions because they are not in the position of, making responses. So they are in a more impassive state of mind. They are more kind of unresponsive state. So you can call them, I mean, obviously unconscious. I mean, they are inhaling oxygen, but they are alive, but their conscious is not on, right? So we need to understand this. Consciousness is all about when you are dealing with your entire body and how you are responding to things, right? And how you are, coming out with the different experiences while you interact with the environment, while you interact with the different peoples, right? And that's how you make your consciousness, be a more, reflective to the people, right? The more you are aware is almost, I mean, is almost termed as the more conscious you are, right? Now the next word, which is similar, as I told you, conscious is basically dealing with the mental part of your body. So when you are absolutely focused on a certain thing, right, it shows how conscious you are. Your response, your overall, a kind of actions, reactions are all, but you can say, a result of your conscious state of mind. So this is what we can understand about conscious and consciousness. Both are similar to a certain extent, but in some other way you can make a little distinction between the two. Conscious is something about your mental state, right? So it involves every activities that happens and churns at your mental level is all about consciousness. It is making you aware of everything, right? What is happening to you, what is happening around you, and making you, making you almost, you can say, for or making you, you can say, some sort of belief, yes, that you are aware of what you are, and you are, you can say, I mean, active, right, for certain situations in your
Mindful.
life that is coming to you, which is unexpected, maybe, whatsoever it is, right? So this is conscious, and this is, the other word is consciousness. But one more thing I want to say, which is important for the audience here, is that when we talk about conscious, we need to understand the precedent of conscious. I mean, according to me, because, well, I mean, for example, I mean, when I go to the very idea of mutic, concept, which is much driven, uh, like what our Lord Krishna says. So this mutic, concept is driven by, or is originated term from Greek, right? So I mean, the Socrates, once told the people that whosoever, makes you believe on certain thing or anything, I mean, the first, I mean, thing that you are supposed to do is that you need to ask the question, right? So that's how you develop your understanding about. So it's not just because of I am the most authoritative person living on this planet, and since I have said it, and therefore you are there to subordinate, you are there as a subordinate, have to accept it. It should not be case like this. So meiotic concept is that whenever anything comes to you as a question, you are going to respond with that with a question. Why? So when you talk about consciousness, we need to ask why consciousness, why we are talking about consciousness, what is the need of the consciousness, right? Because if you don't go and deal with these precedent questions, and we don't have the answers of these precedent questions, it might be a little difficult for you to understand the further later part of the consciousness, because we can't understand something about the advanced part of a concept when we are absolutely, I mean, unaware of the precedent part of it. I mean, ask one question to yourself. I mean, when we are talking about consciousness, why we are talking about consciousness? I mean, as we have discussed a lot of time, specifically in our previous videos too, that life is full of sufferings, life is full of challenges. I mean, people, take birth on this planet, and they come out with different psychologies, different ideas, the concepts, right? And only purpose for these few number of people. For example, the population of this country right now perhaps crossing to the boundary to the mark of 8 billion, right? Only
Yeah.
8 billion, we have 8 billion of population, right? Human beings living on this planet. But out of 8 billion, we have only hundreds of people who finally got a success in writing these kinds of big, lofty philosophies and making us know the picture of the life, which perhaps we are not able to understand. We could not be in a position to understand that if these things would not be there with us in the form of writing, right? What makes these people so much kind of you can say active and able to see the world beyond the senses they could grasp. For example, we the common people, we can't see the world these philosophers could see, right? The only thing which I get as a response out of this question is that these people may be in less number, but they went beyond their limits, and they then try to find out the possible solution for everyone, because they realized it that the life is full of challenges, life is full of complexities, and therefore we need to have a certain kind of solutions, a panacea, right? For that, which with which we could really help the entire world, with which we could really make the people to live the life with a little peace, right? Otherwise it was not possible. I mean, we are always talking about, survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest is the only concept of the life that we actually take birth, and we are obviously consistently leading our life with the same concept. I mean, who is the most stronger will have more opportunity to survive on this planet, right? So this consciousness is always and almost dealing about one thing, whether you're talking about any forms of consciousness given and originated by any of the person or any of the philosophers. The only thing they are trying to say, or they're trying to initiate, is that how we could be more realistic and more receptive to those inevitable facts of life which are beyond human control. For example, death is an inevitable you can say
Yes.
experience of humans life. We all know about this inevitable, but the fact is, a very significant person, a very fraction number of people has imbibed this very fact. Those people who have imbibed this very fact and realized this whole world that it is all about this, and the end, and which is that is the inevitable fact, are the one who have lived their life to the fullest. That what we say, who can live the life to the fullest with with enjoyment, with pleasure, those who know the realities. So one of the realities is the inevitable, that other forms of reality is that changing phases of humans life, pleasure, pain, and almost phases from old, from young to from child to youth, young age, and then young to old, and then almost reaching to the disease, body, right? So these are the things, are the basic and the brutal reality of the human. And your consciousness, our consciousness, are basically what that teaches us to accept it, as well as imbibe these facts, and after imbibing it, live your life. So consciousness is all about dealing with only one thing, how you could accept those few things in your life which are inevitable fact, and then could really enjoy each and every moment, especially that we have today, right? So I think this was the only purpose of bringing out these number of philosophies, or the number of writers, right? And only to make us believe that yes, this is the only reason, therefore we are bringing this very concept to you. You read about it and try to apply to your own life, and have a difference, because everyone is living, but there is a quality of living too. Some people live their life, even they live their life and they die very early, but the life is full of experiences. They don't have any kind of and any any negation about the life. They don't have any sort of any excuses, or any sort of you can say, whatsoever it is, but they never complain to the god that what kind of life they have been given, right? So this is what my understanding says on the word conscious and consciousness, and why it was introduced, the purpose of it, and what these people want us to, from what these people want from us, that we should apply to it and lead the life in that way, the way these people live their life. Over to you.
Yeah, nice. for example, why we came up with this idea to have this video, especially on being conscious, because it's important. Everybody is living their lives, but they should be conscious of this particular fact, that why they are living, and why they are living their life in this particular way. They should be conscious of this fact. Otherwise, this life is just like a clockwork. We
Right,
came into existence, we are raised by parents, we get the education, we get married, we get the job, and we get married, and then we grow old, and when we just depart from this world, right?
right,
This is all about life. But in this journey, we have to realize, and we have to learn that why are we here for, and what is the purpose. And this can only be done if we are conscious of our life, we are conscious of our actions, we are conscious of everything we are doing in this world, right? And for example, there are certain people, right? And they are I would say they are so, because they realize themselves, they are called, they are famous, they are learned, and they are scholars, and they really taught people these kind of things. For example, as you said that no matter how short the life is, but you have understood yourself, you have become conscious that you can do the miraculous things. Like we can take the example of Swami Vivekanand. He
right.
lived all his life only for 39 years, right? But
Yeah,
the kind of things he's done, the kind of feats he achieved is remarkable, and this is
right,
not going to be, you can say, he is unparalleled, I would say. So this could
right,
happen because he was conscious of himself,
right.
right? So in the similar fashion, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord himself, Lord Krishna himself, talked about this fact, that being conscious. So why he talks about that? Because for example, if we are talking, and now we are talking, we are using different words to have this conversation. We are also coming up with different kinds of thoughts. But if we are not conscious of the kind of thoughts we are speaking with, the kind of sentences we are speaking with, the kind of words we are using, I think that if we are using the words without being conscious, they can have different meanings, which we are not actually willing to convey. In the
Right,
similar fashion, somebody also gave an example of taking a bath. If I were to experience what it feels like, taking a bath, then I should be conscious of being present, right? For example, if I'm just going there and thinking of something else, then I will not be able to enjoy the experience, that particular experience which we have while we take a bath.
right,
So if you want to enjoy each and every moment, if you want to live your life to the fullest, then it's imperative on you to be conscious of your of the things which you're doing, and this is only possible when you bring this mindfulness, right?
right.
And you become alert, you become aware. So these things are required to be conscious. Now we are going to talk about different philosophies. We are going to talk about different ways in which a person can become conscious. So just so far we've just talked about what it is to be conscious, and we have also talked about why do we need to be conscious of ourselves and the things around us, and
Yeah.
also of our karmas, or everything we do, right? So now you tell me, because you've been through, and we've also been through different kinds of philosophies, like the philosophies which was you can say, which have been given in the Vedanta. We've been through the philosophies which have been given in the Bhagavad Gita, and we have also talked about before as well. We have read about the philosophy of Buddhism and the philosophy of Stoicism, right? So now we are going to talk about one particular thing. That tell me, how do ancient philosophies like Vedanta, Buddhism, or Stoicism define this consciousness?
Okay, I mean, it's not very difficult, to understand. In fact, I believe after I read all these three, you can say philosophies. I mean, and I have got some experiences from these three philosophies. I mean, I can certainly say that. I mean, when you're talking about consciousness, and in the context of these three philosophies and how these three philosophies deal with consciousness, you'll be surprised to know that the end result is same.
Yes.
The end result is same, and I'll tell you how. their process might be a little bit different, their way of understanding might be a little bit different, not completely detached from the very core point. They are almost same on many points, and the result is also same. So therefore I really don't find it to be very complex for people to understand, and therefore I'll try to make it even more easy to facilitate understanding, right, of this, the very core philosophy of consciousness. I mean, let's talk first about Vedanta, right? When you talk about Vedanta, I mean, see, Vedanta is a very massive, literature, okay, and which is not just a literature; it is a life lesson, and a life lesson book which actually gives
Nectar
you
for life,
less,
right?
yes, which gives you everything possible, and that is pretty much kind of helpful for you. It is going to increase the very value of your life, kind of book Vedanta is. So when you deal with Vedanta, we perhaps can't go with the Vedanta to the very vertical manner, because it is very you can say a very not difficult book, but it requires your patience, it requires your time at the same time. But we are students, we are professionals, so we can't give much time to Vedanta, but we can at least understand how it works. So for example, if I go to the Bhagavad Gita is the most easiest book for anyone to understand, because we can't engage ourselves with the reading of Vedantas and other Puranas kind of literatures. Therefore this very one book, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, are there to give you everything in a sense, and I think this is sufficient. All we need to do is just to apply to the life. So when you go with the Bhagavad Gita, you understand that how the consciousness is being dealt in this. As we talked before about the one thing, which is the universal fact, which is death, right? Fear in Hinduism and in Vedanta is basically held as the most biggest obstruction in humans life. It is the one which actually carries a heavy kind of stimulus, a high degree of stimulus. So for example, there are sense objects, right? There are sense objects, different sense objects provide you different degree of perception, different degree of your experiences. Like, so for example, you are happy or you are elated out of something you have achieved, so you have a different feeling then, right? So you then have a degree of feeling, right? It is pleasurable, but there might be some degree of pain. So in the same way, when you are in a fearful state, right, so you are in a fearful state that you are going to be caught up red-handed for something you have done wrong. So this very fear is there as a fear, but its degree might not be as intensified as when you are about to be killed or murdered, right? So the fear of death is supposed to be the most highest version of fear, you can say, right? So Bhagavad Gita or Vedanta deals with consciousness only for that one reason, that how we could make ourselves in a particular kind of belief, or put ourselves in a particular kind of belief where we would be absolutely detached from this very fear, or in other words I can say we could be even more neutral and more like a stoic when these kinds of fear come and arise in our mind. Because when such fear arises in our mind, what is going to be more impacted is your routine life, your focus on a particular thing that you are doing, your profession, your work, whatsoever you are doing. So therefore consciousness here in Vedanta only deals with how you can manage your fear, and that to this very high degree of fear, which is the fear of death, the apprehension of death. Therefore the entire Bhagavad Gita in different ways, through different verses, are telling you to take yourself to the sublime state of your being. And the sublime state of your being is that when you reach to the transcendental mental state where you are absolutely unflappable, untouched, unperturbed. I mean, I mean, from anything that comes to you as something which might bewilder any person who doesn't have a knowledge about consciousness, right? So the entire Bhagavad Gita, the entire Vedanta deals with how you could minimize your fear and focus more on the present time. One more thing it also deals with, which is very important, and I think this is something very basic thing, but I think it is always missed out. I mean, if you ask yourself, or if anyone asks oneself, that what are these things which really engages our mind a lot? So the two things are discussed in the book, and in fact, it's pretty much practicable and it's very practical, much realistic. There is nothing like people are forcing you to believe it. Even when you listen to this, you accept it with all alacrity. So, what is this? First, that more people are now busy more with their past grievances. This is the first cause of human suffering, where the mind is more engaged with, right? The second is with our future concerns. So 90% of human times are somewhere, I won't say and use the word investment. We are not investing our time, because investment is a very positive word. We do investment in order to have some positive results in future. But here what we are doing is something very contrary. Here we are doing that we are making our mind engaged with the past grievances, the past, painful memories. And moreover, we are also dealing with future concerns. Our entire focus on the present time period has gone completely missed. So therefore our focus is on two aspects of life, but not on the present time. And therefore it somewhere snatches us from, or deviates us from, the kind of life, the kind of quality of life that we could live, right? Here comes the word conscious as a concept, as an instrument, whatsoever you can say, it is there as an helpful instrument for you, a helpful instrument for you. That once we become consciousness, we are becoming so aware that we know the reality, and the reality is that only the present time that you are living. And when you realize this pretty fact, you become more mature with your understanding. And since your focus is increased on a particular task, the performance becomes even more positive and more, you can say, delightful. And therefore you start getting some positive results. That what happens with most of the people, right? So this is the consciousness, and how the consciousness is being dealt, especially in the Vedanta. In one sentence we can say consciousness in Vedanta is all about to subside the fear of death, and to remain constant and be stick to the present time period, r- instead of our mind be some chasing or rolling on the previous grievances, the past grievances, or the future concerns. So in this way the Vedanta gives us a very core teaching, the nectar of life. I mean, there is also a story, I mean, about Buddhism. I mean, many of the monks of Buddhism, when they were in a fearful state, right? Because there was a time when people and invaders would come to different countries and try to capture their countries. They would kill the kings of their kingdoms, and they would capture everything. People there were living in fear. This very idea of, you can say, this very idea of, I mean, applying this consciousness, I mean, was used in this way, so that people could focus on the present time period. Otherwise, I mean, the life would be very difficult to live, right? This is how the consciousness is, you can say, is defined and described in Vedanta. I mean, compare it with now the Stoicism and the Buddhism. I mean, you go to Buddhism and read the any Buddhist book, you will find one word which is very, which highlighted, I mean, in most of the chapters in the context, that is vipassana. Vipassana is a term that is used for one thing, which is that how we could control our senses in a way that we could not be affected. I mean, from both pleasure and pain.
Pain.
It both things are described in this. So I mean, how long we could, be unaffected with the pleasure and pain is what is, described as vipassana in Buddhism, and which is much similar concept, concept to in the Hinduism Vedanta. So it is also dealing with the same thing. It is all this consciousness vipassana is also teaching you one thing, that how you could be unaffected from the, from the world of suffering, or from this, from this grief, the ocean of grief, right? So this is all teaching you. I mean, many Buddhist monk would practice it, would try to, do meditation in different ways, so that they could be remain, focused on one thing, and they could not be very kind of perturbed, okay, for silly reason, or for even a reason which is really, uh, I mean, you can say, difficult to manage, right? You go to then Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, right? He
Yeah,
was the philosophers who discussed about Stoicism. Stoicism is also same. Stoic. If you read the vocab, this is
stoic.
stoic.
Yeah,
So it also means to be, to
but
remain in a very poised
yes,
state,
unaffected by any.
unaffected, right? What it means unaffected here, unaffected or being unaffected simply means one thing, that whatsoever comes to you, you are not going to be affected by it, right? This stoicism is also now have a precursory, or you can say perfunctory glance on all these philosophies at the surface level, and ask yourself that what exactly it is talking about. So, in a simple way, we can say that all these three philosophies are guiding you, instructing you to be remain unaffected, right? Buddhism is telling you one thing, that since the world, everything is impermanent, everything is impermanent, and therefore your suffering is impermanent. So something which is impermanent, there is not a big reason to be worried and concerned about it, and to be lamented about it. Something which is going to be past soon, something which is going to be there as for a fleeting experience, then what is the reason, of being concerned about it, right? So all these three different philosophies, may it be Vedanta, Stoicism, or Buddhism, or the Buddhist philosophy of Vipassana. All these are almost on the same line, that is telling you to remain conscious. And with the help of this consciousness, you will be able to sort out every possible, you can say, problem in your life. And you will be like in a state, or in some high order of life, where you could really live your life, I mean, that you deserve, right? So this is how this consciousness is defined in these three different, philosophies. Over to you.
Yeah, this is correct because, for example, you, as professionals, we know that how it feels when somebody's in pressure, right? Somebody's under pressure. So when decisions are made, one has to be very unaffected. Only then will they be able to come up with some nice decisions and good decisions, right? And that's why it has always been said in these philosophies that one has to be very aware of oneself and the things, because if they are not, then they'll be getting affected in different ways. For example, when you are too unhappy, then you will not be able to enjoy anything, and this can take a very heavy toll on you and your health, right? And if you are overjoyed, I would say, then again, as it has been said, that excess of anything is never good, right? So
Yeah.
we have to be poised, we have to be aware of each and everything. Nothing should be crossing its limits, and that's why these different kind of, you can say, things and different kind of remedies have been introduced. For example, if we talk about this consciousness in Bhagavad Gita, and if we talk about the consciousness Buddhism, this there comes the method of, or you can say this, uh, you can say the meditation, right? So why
Yeah.
do we do meditation? Because we just want to be conscious of ourselves. As you meditate, then you can be conscious of the breathing. Right now we are not at all conscious of our breathing, because we are not that much conscious. But when you
Right.
go into meditation, then you get to know about the different of experiences. And this is experienced when you reach a certain level, and then you reach that transcendent, I would say, state, and then you start feeling all those things, right? One more thing I would love to say is we've got different kinds of consciousness, because this is, when I came across when I was reading certain stories about the same. So people have got different kinds of consciousness. Like some people have consciousness of fox. Some people have consciousness of lion, and some people have consciousness of saints. And this separates them. For example, if a person who has got consciousness of an animal, so they would be so much engrossed in eating and having fun and all. They will not be concerned about their life, right? They will
Right.
not be concerned about self development and
Right. Right.
elevating themselves and taking them to the highest self, right? If a person who has got the consciousness of a lion, so they would be at that level where they can think at a certain level, but they can never go beyond that. But if a person who's get the consciousness of a saint, they would be crossing that particular level, which
Right.
is possible by others. And this is possible because now they have become conscious of everything. So that's why these you can say these things have been introduced, so that people can live their life to the fullest, and they can make the most of this life, right? Next question which I'm going to ask you is, tell me, can we separate consciousness from spirituality, or they are intrinsically linked?
I mean, first of all, we need to find a correlation between two, because it is very important to find a correlation between the two. Otherwise, the very experience of consciousness, according to me, could be almost a mere dream for people to behold, and there is no, I mean, physical experience of it, right? So, I mean, if you ask me this question, I would go with a positive or an affirmation, which is that yes, they do have intrinsic correlation between the two. All it requires is that a little bit establishment, and we can do this right away. So when we talk about spiritualism, and the second is spiritualism and consciousness, I mean, it's very, I mean, very visible and transparent as for the purpose of discussion. I mean, if someone asks me, tell me about consciousness or tell me about spirituality, and show me the physical nature of it, the physical aspect of it. I mean, can't be. For example, if someone asks you, tell me about lungs, tell me about heart, tell me about your eyes. So, I mean, once the body is operated, the internal organs be there on the table, and people can have all knowledge about all these things, right? I mean, these things are not possible in the case of spiritualism and consciousness. So, if a doctor operates a body in order to find out to see whether the consciousness lies inside the body in a physical nature, which could be spotted out and could be further studied, or even the spiritualism or a spirit is there for the study purpose. So, first of all, we need to admit this very fact, which is almost a universal fact, that both the terms are abstract in nature. Consciousness and what you can say, consciousness and
Spiritualism.
spiritualism, both are abstract in form. But since it is an abstract, I mean, does it mean that we can't have any understanding about it? It's not like this. And obviously not. See, I mean, there is a specific verse in Bhagavad Gita, and that specific verse in Bhagavad Gita, which says that, and in fact, it gives a definition of spirit. Spirit is what is defined as soul, right? So it is said to be the 1/10,000 part, I mean, 10,000 part of the tip of a hair. It is how described. I mean, this I'm talking about the spirit, the soul is described in that way. It is the 10,000 part to the tip of your hair. And further it goes with this elaboration that it can't be wet, it can't be withered soul, it can't be, you can burnt, it can't be, destructed or cut into pieces with the sword, because it is that tiny, which can't be even seen through microscope, through the use of microscope, right? So, I mean, and then the consciousness is what you can say the symptom of soul. So one is soul and its symptom is consciousness, right? So as long as the consciousness lies inside us, we are there like an erect mountain before you, and we are possibly doing every task. whatsoever comes to us, right? Once the consciousness is gone, there is nothing left in you. So oxygen is permeating everywhere, is a prevalent with its specific proportion. But even when oxygen here, but your consciousness is gone, there is no, you can say, life back in you. So the consciousness is given that much kind of you can say a kind of priority, right? Or kind of status in human life. Therefore, both are correlated. Now, since we are finding a correlation between the two, the first correlation is that both are abstract. Since we are dealing with consciousness which is abstract in nature, so we need to understand that spirit is also, that is spiritualism, which is also abstract, and both are abstract in nature. So this is the first correlation. The second correlation, which is even more stronger according to me, is that consciousness is a state of mind, as we have already discussed in the previous questions. Now spiritualism is a process to achieve that kind of consciousness. So one is, you can say, a destiny, and the second is a set of course that helps you facilitate your way to reach to that destination, right? So spiritualism here is coming out as only a recurse for you, and if you practice with it, I mean, under a certain guidance, then there is a possibility that you can attain that conscious of mind. For example, what is meditation? Meditation is all part of a spiritualism process, right? Spiritualism has never been connected with any divine kind of you can say I mean with it any divine connection. I mean, it has never been. I mean, spiritualism is altogether a different kind of concept, right? So your meditation is all about where you focus on your breathe, on a particular thing or an object, in order to gain your consciousness, right? So this is how you are trying to be more prone towards becoming consciousness, but only with the help of this spiritualism as a path, as a recurse, as a passage that provides you way out. That yes, if you follow this, you can do this. Spiritualism, in another way, we can also discuss, as we have discussed in the previous video, that it tells you how you could be more moderate in your lifestyle, right? How you could be more, self composed, as well as a very restricted kind of personality, so that nothing could be there to affect you to that extent where you lose your own consciousness. So everything here in the spiritualism process is somewhere guiding you to be consciousness, and how you could be consciousness. For one example, I want to sum up with this answer to this question, is that, for example, when you try to practice moderation in your life, so what that moderation is all about, the moderation is all about to suppress your senses in a way that you are trying to make yourself able to face every possible situation, how difficult it could be, how sinister it could be, but you remain poised in all positions, in all possible ways, right? So that is what is, you can say, the consciousness is all about, right? So therefore I say both are correlated, and there is nothing like which could be held as a distinction between the two. If there is any distinction between the two, then it is only one, that one is the destination, the final objective, and the other is a
The way
passage,
to
a
get
way out
to
to
get
get
there.
that, to get there. This is my understanding on the relation, the correlation between consciousness and spiritualism. Over to you.
And to make it very easy for audience to understand, I would say that there is only minute difference, like consciousness is being conscious of your self and of your surroundings, of the things you're doing, and spirituality is all about being conscious of the last and I would say final stage,
Right,
where you want to be united with the one who is the supreme force, I would say, in the universe,
right,
right? So spirituality is the way to get there, and is being conscious is the way which leads to spirituality,
right.
right? The next question we have to discuss is, tell me, is consciousness an individual phenomenon, or it is collective and interconnected?
I mean, I wish it could be a collective experience, but if that would be a situation, then probably none of them would be even trying to acquire this state of life. and then this thing would be even more easy to perceive, right? Which is not in reality. So from this very understanding, we can certainly say that it is an individual experience,
Just
and that
like
too.
just like
Yeah.
when somebody comes and says that they have seen God, so
Yeah,
it's quite difficult for the person to make you realize that. You have to
obviously.
experience God yourself. Otherwise, you would
Obviously.
simply be saying it the person's hallucination, or the person has got mad and got mad.
Absolutely. So this is an individual experience, and this individual experience is only possible when you come out with your own personal actions, right?
Yeah,
And you try to figure it out on your conditions with your personal will and fancies. It should not be something which is imposed on you as a belief. And
yeah,
that's what is pretty well defined in Buddhism, as what Buddhism and the Buddhist, I mean, Gautam Buddha says is that, you need to experience your own every single thing in the life and then decide the decide the value of that particular thing in your life. So until unless you have the experience on it, that you don't let this act upon you, you can't be in a better state to give response to this, or to even explain about to the people. However, it is easy today that you read some scriptures and then become a preacher, but still it is of no use, since we are talking about consciousness, and that too we are trying to find out its impact on the individual level. Then we need to be at least honest here. So your readings alone is not, you can say, sufficient. In fact, it's one of the verses in Bhagavad Gita which gives a fine understanding about that. It says that there are two types of consciousness or understanding about consciousness, that is theoretical understanding and the practical
practical one,
understanding.
yes.
Theoretical understanding is that very easy. You go and get some books and start reading it, devour it, and tomorrow you will be a preacher. But do you really think that whatever you have read, been imbibed to you, conscious has been almost saturated with that particular nectar of these lines? And if it is, then you are almost congratulated for that, because you have gained that transcendental state of life. But now, if you have only read it without doing any practice or any personal experience of it, then you are no state of saying, or a position of saying that yes, this is consciousness. In fact, one of the most fine example, for example, a cook who has read only about the dishes and the procedure
The
and
recipes,
how it
he
is.
just read the recipes and
Yes,
never
but
tried to cook.
he has never tried to cook. How we could even understand, and how
Yes.
he could even say this, that this kind of dish was with this kind of experience in the taste, right? So one has to experience on it on. Therefore we say it's an individual experience, cannot be collective. But one thing which is very important, that one who experiences the consciousness by doing this hard labor, by following with this tenacious belief that yes, he or she can do that. Once he reaches to that state, for him, everything becomes so unified. So for him, everything becomes so single, and it comes in a singularity, that he starts looking everything as united, and therefore he doesn't find things are separated. And therefore, that what Shankaracharya says, that the conscious state is where you reach to that Atman level, right? So
Yes.
you get submerged with the Atman, and you become one, united. So one who has got the consciousness, for him the world is united, and he has got everything as one, and therefore his behavior also changes, that he becomes more polite and very gentle to everyone. Therefore it's an individual experience, is not a collective one. Over to you.
Yes, and it has also been said by my guru that he always says that whatever is written in the scriptures, it is somebody else's experience. So if you
Yes,
go with
yes,
that and then you try it yourself, then you will have your own experience, right?
yes,
You may have a different experience from the one they had, right? For example, if you want to see God, So for some people believe in the worship or idol, no idol worship, this that is called, idolatry, and the other people, don't believe in the notion of this, idol worship. So what he says that when somebody has got faith, and faith doesn't mean to have some doubt. When you say that you have faith, it has no room for doubts, not
Right.
even an
Absolutely.
iota of doubt. And when this happens, even when this happens, the whole universe takes a form for you. That becomes God. It'll come in front of you because you've got that unwavering faith, right?
Right.
So if you have this kind of faith, then things are gonna happen. And but you don't have to believe everything. You have to do it yourself. Then you'll have your own experience. And I think this experience may be different from the ones they had, when they had it. So
That
the
that the
next,
tongue that the tongue lies in a kitchen only works when your hands act upon it.
yeah,
Otherwise, it is not going to move. So, your hand that is going to make it move. So, therefore, the lines we read in the Bhagavad Gita's or any scriptures are only working when we are making it working by putting them in our life experiences. And that is the only way out of it.
yeah.
What do you?
So now we are going to discuss the kind of practices a person can do so that they can be more and more conscious of themselves, so
Right,
that they can turn themselves into a person who can live their life to the fullest, and who
right,
can make the most of this life they have got on this planet. Because we know this thing that we are here for some time. We are just a tenant, and when we have to leave this, it's this room, this body is a kind of room which we have rented. So it's a rented room which our
right.
you can say soul is residing in. So one day we have to leave this, but we have to live our life in in a fashion that becomes that becomes a sort of you can say a legend, I
Yeah,
would. And this is only possible when we know how to live a life, how to live a life, and what are the ways which we can follow so that we can become, we can say that yes, I lived my life and to the fullest, and I have no regrets. And this can
we
only
need
be
to
possible.
we need to flow like that stream of river
Reba,
which is
yes,
continuously on flow and jostling around all those obstacles
yes,
without taking a single second rest. So this is
yes.
the life we need to,
The
I
life
think
life is
live.
just like a river. Yes.
Right.
Yes. So now we are going to discuss the kind of practices which a person can do so that they can become more and more conscious of themselves, and they can live the life to the fullest, and they can become a success. Success in the sense, I never consider success to be having lots of money. Success is when you are satisfied, when you are happy, when you are kind and compassionate, and when you are of use to other people. And then I will say that it's a success, it's a life, or it's a successful life, I would say. So
Right.
now we're going to discuss all those practices which a person can do so that they can become very aware of themselves and mindful. Over to
Lovely. So did you ask me a question in
you.
this?
Yeah, I'm asking means I will also be talking about the same, but the question we are going to discuss is, tell me what can a person do so that they can become
Okay.
the most aware person of themselves. And you can say what should they be doing so that they can become mindful, they can become conscious of themselves to lead a best possible life.
Okay, I mean, see, there are several ways out, and I mean, you go with different scriptures, always come up with different way to realize this very kind of aspect of life, being conscious, right? I mean, I can't tell all of them just because of, to be very honest, I haven't experienced all of those. But what I'm experiencing now, what doing right now and these days is that meditation. And meditation suits me a lot. I mean, gives me the very realization of life, because meditation is somewhere that is helping you to be united with the entire, elements of this universe. It is not We are being connected with the people around us, with each and everything that lies inside the universe, to that cosmic level, right? So that power this meditation serves to us. And therefore there are two ways which is pretty popular, and which are very popular, that either you can go and try to see the external world and try an empirical on it and put it in a compilation form and try to understand and read it. The second way out is that go inside and try to seek what is there, and try to establish a correlation between your relation between the universe. Meditation is what that belongs to the second stage, or the second practice, which tells you to go inside and then understand the entire universe, because what is there outside which you see are basically materials, right?
Yes.
Which are also transient, like us, which also has some, temporary, time period, especially on this planet, which is almost going to be vanished on one day as we are going to be vanished, right? What is not, I mean, in a form of, you can say, as what is described, especially about spirit or spiritualism, the soul, that it can never be withered, it can never be cut into pieces. Is the something which we need to understand, which we need to hold a relationship with, and this meditation gives us this very, in a way, a passage with which we could hold a relationship with our own soul, our own spirit. And then we become even more aware about the entire world. We become more, you can say, focused and concentrated upon the realities, because we have dictated our mind and have told and guided it in that way that it is now in a position to understand it, what is real and what is fake. And once you understand this very all, can say, the very which you can say a deep understanding or the deep knowledge, you become more like a saint. But we are not here to become like a saint. We want to be a normal person, and it's okay with us, but we want our life to be even more kind of, enthralling. I mean, a good experience that everyone's wants, right? We don't want, I mean, people to worship us. What we want is that what the life we have, I think we would be able to live it. I mean, the way, I mean, we deserve, right? Everyone deserves a good lifestyle, right? Good lifestyle doesn't mean to be spending a lot of money and to be enjoying with all those materialistic values and materialistic objects. Not like this. To be living, I mean, within oneself and with whatever we have. And this meditation provides this very awareness, this mindfulness. Mindfulness, in other way, could be also described in that way, where it tells you only one thing, that you are always, or should be always on the one path, and that is the path of real. Or and the real is that there are few things which are important to you. There are few things which are not going to be changed, and there are few things which are inevitable. Once you imbibe those things, your life is sorted out, right? So this is meditation gives you. Other benefits are almost complementary in nature, that your health will always be robust, you won't be falling ill, since you have become realized, you have become a realized person. And almost, because once you become a realized person, then obviously your lifestyle, your point of view towards life become a little more different from the people who haven't done that, right? So I think meditation is the best way out to provide that, or this very experience, to give us this very experience, right? Over to you.
And whatever I've done in my life, I've also done the same thing. I've done, meditation. It's been almost 12 years since I started meditation. And the kind of results I've got are innumerable, I would say. I cannot even describe those experiences. What I read about meditation, because we are living in this world, and it is not possible for everybody to renounce the world, because we have got responsibility. God has sent us on this earth, because and God has some purpose that has to be served by us, right? And that's why we are here, otherwise we would have departed. What he says, what my guru says is, meditation cannot be done especially at home. So what can be the best solution to have the best meditation, because if you talk about the sages in the means in the ancient times, and if you talk about all those meditators who did meditation, they used to go to the Himalayas, they used to go to the caves, they used to go to the jungles to do it because at home you are always getting disturbed because of the ball ringing, the phone ringing, the people are asking you to do something. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're calling you, and this is going to disturb the whole meditation.
Mm.
So meditation can be done when you are walking away from everything. For example, you can go to a place which is desolate, or which is not being you can say people are coming to you and disturbing you, and then you would realize that meditation is the best thing there is. You would get to know yourself, you would get to know your inner world. And I think if you want to be the best version of yourself, you want to be if you want to have the control over yourself and over your emotions and over everything you do, then meditation is the only thing that comes into play, right? And if you go inward, you would find that you don't need the things which are outside, because
Mm.
the things which you see outside are fleeting, I would say. They are temporary, and they cannot give you lasting joy. And if you turn yourself inward, meditation is turning inward, and if you can turn yourself inward, then you would find that you are now blissed out. It means you got the lasting happiness. The happiness is now permanent. Your nature has changed, and nothing is going to affect you, because now you understand yourself. You understand your real nature, because your real nature is to be happy. Your real nature is to be in a state which is going to be unaffected by the things happening around you. So this has also been my experience, and that's why I would suggest the people to go with this, and just they should be trying it out. But they should be trying it out. They should be meditating in a place which is not actually going to be you can say which is not going to be visited by people, because this can disturb the whole meditation, and they would not be feeling the kind of results they might if they do it when they can do it at a place which is not going to be visited by people, right? And their meditation will remain undisturbed, and this is going
Yeah.
to give them lasting happiness and lasting peace. And they would also be able to know themselves, and this is how even the kundalinis are awakened, right?
Yeah.
Because then you start piercing those kundalinis, and reach the different, you just you can say pierce the different layers, many layers which are existing in you.
Right.
And you get the results which will then you will be having are beyond description, right?
Right.
So if a person wants to become conscious, they can go for meditation. They can also do the things very mindfully. And one more thing, if you are doing meditation, so meditation is not enough on its own. You have to improve certain things in your life. You have to mend your ways. I mean, you have to improve your behavior. Like, you have to be kind, you have to be compassionate, you have to be cooperative, and you have to be very humble, because these things also matter a lot. And these
Right.
things will teach you how you can become conscious, and how can you win yourself and your senses, and everything that might stop you from reaching where you are supposed to, when you are meant to
Right.
reach, right? So these things which we had to discuss, and I hope that audience will definitely like the kind of things we have discussed, and they will also be suggesting us what needs to be improved and what needs to be done. If they want us to have different topics to speak on, we would love to have those. We
Right.
welcome those subscribers and on those audience who are constantly giving us their suggestions, so that the content can be improved, right?
Right.
So this is enough for the time being. We'll be seeing each other in the next video.
Okay. Take care. Good night.
Good night.